Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for my review of the 2017 horror film Happy Death Day, directed by Christopher Landon and starring Jessica Rothe. And this movie, Happy Death Day, honestly completely shocked me. I remember seeing trailers for this movie and thinking, yeah, it doesn't look like anything that great. I wasn't even really planning on going to see this movie necessarily, but then I started hearing some things come in about it that it was pretty good. So I thought, I'll give it a chance. And I have to say, this movie totally exceeded my expectations. This movie was really, really good and probably the most fun I've had watching a movie in a long time. For those of you that don't know, Happy Death Day combines kind of like 80s slashers, Groundhog Day, and some teenage drama as well. And somehow it pulls this off. I'm not really sure how. I think the main reason for this is that this movie knows exactly what it is and never takes itself too seriously. This movie does have a lot of horror cliches, but they actually work because the movie almost makes fun of itself in a way and knows that all the cliches are there. It embraces them. And therefore, the movie works, in my opinion. Not only is this movie entertaining, it's very well paced. This is a case of a movie that every scene seems to be the right length of time, which I always appreciate. Jessica Rothe is great in the lead. She plays a character that could have become very quickly uninteresting, but because the character is given some depth and feels believable, and because of her strong performance, I was actually really invested in what was happening with the character. There's also a mystery element to this film, and I was actually invested. I was actually trying to figure out what was happening throughout the film. So that really worked as well. Another great thing about this film is there is a lot of attention to detail. I actually think this is a movie that I will definitely rewatch because the way the movie is set up and constructed, a lot of things that happen in one scene are important later in the movie in another scene. But the movie doesn't make you very aware of them all. Some of them are very subtle hints as to what's going on. So I thought that was also done well. This film is also pretty funny in places. I actually laughed out loud a couple times in the theater, which is pretty rare for me. But most of the humor worked for me as well. Some of the humor was better than others, but when there's a lot of jokes in a movie, there'll always be a few that don't work. But overall, I thought the humor was great. There also was some tension in this movie. I wouldn't say that it's scary, but I don't think the movie's really going for that. It's going more for clever horror. This movie definitely has like an 80s horror slasher vibe to it in parts, but it has kind of like a modern feel to it as well. Once again, they pulled it off beautifully. I also like the way that some of the kill sequences, death sequences were set up. There was some pretty good tension, but it wasn't overdone. Basically, a lot of everything in this movie just worked for me. As far as the soundtrack, it's okay. I could take it or leave it. I do have to mention a couple problems I had with this film that keep it from being a great horror film. Number one, while I appreciate that the attempt to make the lead character interesting, and I do like the characterizations in the film, I do feel like that maybe the main character changed a little bit too quickly. Some of her changes felt a little abrupt and rushed to me and not totally earned. It worked okay, and others might find it to their satisfaction. For me, it just felt a little convenient at times. My bigger issue with this movie is there are a lot of plot twists. And again, while I appreciate this isn't just a straight ahead horror movie, there might be one twist too many in this movie. One of the twists partway through the film, although setting up other twists, felt like it wasn't really properly set up and just kind of came out of nowhere. The movie almost gets away with this too because, again, it kind of makes fun of itself in a way without me giving too much away. But I did think that some of the plot twists, you kind of got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but they don't kill the movie. I just thought that if they could have figured out a better way to make the plot twists work, that this could have been an even greater movie. But as it is, like I said, Happy Death Day totally shocked me. This movie even has some pretty good lessons that kind of work. They naturally flow into the story and don't bang you over the head. So overall, I would definitely recommend this movie, Happy Death Day, for fans of really a lot of different kinds of horror films. It's got probably a little bit of something for everyone. If you like 80s slashers with a little bit of drama mixed in, if you like a pretty good horror comedy, or if you just like the movie Groundhog Day, it's kind of an interesting take on that as well. I definitely recommend Happy Death Day, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. And trust me, I'm as surprised by this as anyone, but I really, really enjoyed this movie, and I actually found it to be a pretty refreshing modern horror film. So 4 out of 5 for Happy Death Day, and as always, thank you very much for watching.